Okay, it is a holiday week in the States, if you're listening to us in the States. And if you are, you will know that this is the time of year when a lot of executives struggle with making a connection. So today I want to talk to you about why, as an executive leader, you want to make an emotional connection with your people. Now, before you tune me out and say, I don't need emotion, just remember, people are more emotional than they are logical or logistical. So you ignore this as an executive to your own peril. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Sam Linton Show, the podcast designed to help you shift your mindset, find your voice, and change your world. Sam is a pastor, coach, and expert communicator, helping leaders and entrepreneurs like you step into their purpose, speak with confidence, and make a lasting difference. So let's dive in.
All right, so I'm going to try to be on the shorter side today because a lot of times when we get into these, I think I overload with things to try. But I do want to also set up why so many of us tend to struggle with emotional connection to your people. It's really easy to come into a meeting or to run a board meeting or a budget meeting and you feel like you're not really connecting. You're more just presenting things, telling people what they need to do, making people feel like they have to do certain things. And you leave and you feel a little bit disjointed. Well, I'm going to give you the reason why you struggle to actually make an emotional connection. The first is you're overwhelmed. You have cognitive overload. When you're at that meeting, your brain is in 100 different directions. One of my clients talks to me about often how when he is about to speak or run a meeting, his assistant will literally hand him talking points and say, this is what you got to cover in this meeting. It's really important, because he's so overwhelmed that he's not even focused on what's happening next. So the thought of connecting emotionally or in a authentic way seems like it's a completely foreign concept. So you're cognitively overloaded. I know you are. I know that you're probably listening to this while you're on the way to work or while you're getting ready for something else, or you have 2 minutes. You're not a person that has a lot of extra real estate in their brain to devote to this kind of stuff. So you're overloaded. Next of all, and this is another reason why, you have what some people call the expertise gap. And that is where you want to be seen as the expert and you don't want there to be any kind of a gap where you are seen as someone who is not to be trusted. Meaning you don't want to make an emotional connection. You don't want to slow down. You don't want to pause and do a quick status check on your people because you're afraid that it's going to make you come across as not the one that's in control. You'll lose control of the meeting. And I mentioned this previously, that one of the greatest things that you can do as an executive is to be present. And if you are operating with this expertise trap, you want to come in as the person that kind of dumps the agenda, dumps the knowledge, dumps the meeting, dumps all of the things onto your people so that you feel like you're the expert that is bringing instead of actually allowing the meeting to be somewhat organic. This could be bad too if you're highly relational, where your meetings don't have any type of agenda or any type of content that is valuable for your people. That could turn into more of a social hour, and executive leaders have to be cautious of this as well. I would say that as a leader, I tend to struggle more with that because I work for a nonprofit. We're highly relational. It's a church. Even though we do a lot of business stuff, I have a lot of the business things that overlap with regular executive function. There's still that relational component that is often missing in corporate structure, which is expected in church and nonprofit structure. So we could all use a little bit of work, but I'm speaking to you right now. If you are in the corporate structure, you got to be careful to make sure that you don't fall into that expertise gap where you feel like you have to come in and be the expert and not slow down, just drive, and then bounce before you make an impact that's emotionally resonating. And then the last is you are afraid of how you are being interpreted. Because executives struggle with being misinterpreted so often, it's very, very common to think they're going to take this wrong. If I say that, they're going to take this wrong, or this is going to be misconstrued. And so there's a fear that if you do lead in a way where you use emotional language, where you show emotion, where you show authenticity, that it is going to come across in a way which either will lead you to drama later, or it's going to come across in a way where it's misrepresented and people are going to think badly of you. It's going to come across as manipulative, maybe, to come across as fake. You don't want that, but it's a risk that you have to take if you want to make that emotional connection. So how do you bake this in? How do you build this into your foundation as a leader? I'm going to give you some quick pointers that will help in order to bridge that gap. If you struggle with being too party at home, business at business, how do we merge those two things? So first thing you want to do, when you are interacting with your people, you want to start with humanity first over agenda. You want to be human first over agenda. So this is where you might want to take, if you're running a meeting, maybe 60 seconds, like tell me what's going on. How's everybody doing today? Before we jump in, give me a win from last week, personal or professional. So what you're doing, and this will help you if you're detail-oriented, agenda-focused, is you are giving people an opportunity to guide with emotion. Now, remember, when I say emotion, I don't mean necessarily out of control emotion. Don't hear that. I'm just saying, oh yeah, I felt really good last week. We hit our goals. We just finished a humongous capital campaign. Well, we started a capital campaign because we finished the kickstart of the campaign to our church. Well, there's a lot of emotion. Like we had amazing generosity from the church people. We had all these leaders step up. We had a lot of celebration things that we had because the events went well. Everything was well attended. The services were well attended. They were well received. Lots of emotion there. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to cry. It's not that. It's an emotion that we should celebrate. And as executives, and I'm the one that's most guilty of this, we don't celebrate enough. So give them a time in the meeting to let them celebrate maybe some wins, celebrate some victories, maybe grieve some losses. Like, oh, it sucked that last week we had to work on Thanksgiving or whatever. You know, there might be some wiggle room in that. But you want to start off with making it human first. Keep it short. Second, this is like so Jedi level. If you get nothing from this, this is probably the most important thing. I've called this before the power of the second question. Some people call it one layer deeper with regard to communication. Whatever you want to do, just is called the one more layer concept. All right, and here's the one more layer concept. This is called the secondary question or the follow-up question. Most leaders, I've seen people do this. I've seen facilitators do this where they'll ask a question and they're glad that the question is answered, then they move on. But your greatest opportunity, it's like an open net. If you're a hockey fan, I'm, not really a sports person, but, they have the open net. If they pull the goalie, the open net, it's right there. It's easy if you could just get a shot. They open the net when they answer a question. So I'll give you an example in real time. So let's say you're going through this lightning round and then you start to tell people to give a status report. And if an employee says, oh, I've been really busy. Okay. So what you want to do, instead of moving on to the next person, okay, you're busy, who's next, you stop and you go, well, tell me how you're busy. What's weighing you the most? Like, what is the thing on your schedule that is keeping you up at night? Now, that's emotional language. That's power word language. What's keeping you up at night? What is causing you to skip lunch? What is making you fret about the day? You are now focusing on getting them to answer a second question. And they'll go, actually, the Miranda account is keeping me up at night because blah, 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 right? And you're telling them in a sense that you want them to tell you specific. Now, what this does is two things. Number one, it's giving them the opportunity to speak into that emotion of busy. We are all busy. I'm doing the air quotes. What does that mean? Are you busy in terms of, I'm really productive, or I'm firing at all cylinders? Or does it mean I'm so overwhelmed I don't even want to wake up in the morning? The only time I feel peace is when I'm asleep. Which of those two worlds are we living in? And you are setting the tone to let them respond emotionally. That's the first thing, by saying, well, what is it? Tell me specifically. And two, this is a great diagnostic opportunity for you as an executive to say, well, maybe John should be helping with the Miranda file. Maybe, this isn't just about emotional connection. This is also strategic leadership that you can really pinpoint something that could troubleshoot with them. So this one layer deeper, this power of the second question, isn't just about you facilitating, but it's also about you being a strategic leader. Next, and this is going to be probably the biggest challenge for you, speak in terms of feelings and not just facts. So I'll give you a quick example. This is easiest to demonstrate, hardest for you to apply. If you are an executive leader, your tendency is going to be, okay, our agenda this week is going to be blah, 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 and then you fire off all the points, right? Or our initiative in the company is this, and blah, 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 and then you fire off all the points. Go team, go, I'm out. A way to change this, to supercharge it with power words and emotion is, hey, here's what I am most excited about us conquering this week. It's a slight shift, but it adds that layer. Hey, here's what, gets my blood moving in the morning is this. And you talk about, what if we kill that Miranda account? I don't know what the Miranda account is. I just made that up. But what if we kill this Miranda project? What if we finish early on the Stevenson case and blank, okay? And that's going to be so amazing. How great is it going to feel? How relieved are we going to feel? How accomplished are we going to feel? Put those power words, those emotion words into your language so that people aren't thinking that you're plastic. This also works if there is something that you want them to be cautious about. So saying, hey, we're a little bit behind, so we have to really hustle on whatever, the Miranda account, because we're a week behind in deliverable. You reverse that, instead say this. I'm really concerned about our time for this. That's completely appropriate. What I'm concerned about most is, so you're using that word, that power word, that emotional word. I'm concerned. I am anxious. I am a little, and you could be, you could use even stronger words, like I'm a little overburdened, I'm overwhelmed. Think about a way to use that to charge emotion into this. Oh yeah, we are overwhelmed too. Now, what is this going to do? This is going to align your people with your priorities, but also show the humanity that you have as well. I guarantee you, if you're an executive in a company that's bigger than a handful, this is going to be your struggle. But I'm telling you, there's a bang for your buck because you're showing them that humanly you stay up at night thinking about this stuff too. You're not perfect. You're thinking about the Miranda account too. And you're showing them solidarity. Next, validation before delegation. Validation before delegation, or validation before direction. If you're not delegating, you might be directing, but you want to validate how they feel. So if you're having an exchange and they're telling you about something that's happened, like there's something that's going on with regard to the project, there's something that's going on with regard to a component of the project that's not going well, you stop and you validate. Ooh, I could see why that's a struggle. I would imagine that would be frustrating. Thanks for bringing that up. It's really, really helpful that you vocalized how you felt about this, and I could see why this is confusing. That makes sense. These little phrases are not filler phrases, and they're not throwaway phrases, but again, this is a way for you to communicate that you're genuinely empathetic to them. I can see why this annoyed you last week. You saying that is showing them that you have tried to process things from their lens. If you don't do this, if somebody says, man, last week, all I did was return these 25 emails from this noisy wheel, squeaky wheel client. If you just go, yeah, just return them and get it done, it's fine. They're not going to feel heard. They're not going to feel validated. All you do to switch that up is go, hey, I can understand that John is super paranoid right now, and I could see from your perspective how you getting all those emails, that's super frustrating. Let's just get those emails returned. Let's get this project knocked out, and let's move on past it. So just that little tweak is showing you having more of an emotional connection with regard to their concerns. It goes a long way, a lot longer than maybe you're imagining. And one of the last things that you can do is close with a meaningful personal anecdote or close with a meaningful personal ownership of something. So I'll give you an example. These are easier to explain than they are to actually do. But when you end a meeting, you say, look, I'm committed to helping you to finish this. So whatever it is, I'm committed to helping you bring this project to a close. I'm committed to getting us the best environment to make this happen with our clients. I'm committed to going ahead. So you tell them what you're willing to do, or you share a story about how you yourself have looked at this situation and you are feeling what they're feeling, like an anecdote. So I was looking over the files and I was feeling really stressed myself. And I was thinking about you and how this must make you feel. And I know I want to do what I can to help you because this is my responsibility to make sure you succeed. So again, this is showing that you're sharing that burden with them. Now, again, your role, if you're in an executive level, is to get them to do the work and to have the work done. But if you take some sort of an ownership of that and say, I get that there's so much riding on this for us and I want to do better, that will give them the opportunity to see that you are not just giving them orders, but that you're asking how you can be a part of the vision and the picture. So closing that way is a humongous opportunity for you to bring them into that vision and show them how you are really invested in what they are doing. So don't throw this away. Great opportunities. So again, you want to connect emotionally. If you struggle with this, podcast@samuellinton.com. I would love to train you. I'd love to coach you. I'd love to coach your team about maybe some ways that they communicate. I want to help you in this upcoming new year to be the best communicator of yourself. So you definitely want to make sure that you are putting your best foot forward as a leader, because remember, whether we want to admit this or not, people are judging us. So it's time for you to get serious. So with that said, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Sam Linton Show. And we are really excited for you to communicate with that emotion and that power that you have as a leader. We will talk soon.